maybe a few months ago, I was reporting and thinking, okay, PC sales coming back, refresh, all of this conversation, and now maybe that cycle is not moving as quickly as we thought.
Yeah, I think China has been well chronologized. It didn't come back as strong as expected. Not terrible, but not as strong as expected in that growth. Otherwise, Asia actually did okay. India, had actually a quite good cycle as they finished the year. Europe, not as strong, and has I think been well chronologized. And the U.S. was pretty good, as we went through the holiday period. So I think when you add all of that up, it just wasn't as strong as people were hoping for, as we finished the year. I do think as we look to this year, we think of the AI PC. We're now 4 years past when the COVID, PCs were first bought, so I think that starts to come back a little bit. Obviously, major new Windows operating systems is always beneficial, so we're more optimistic as we go through the year.
I want to bring it back to the United States and, talking about AI. Many of you guys have heard of, the New York Times suing OpenAI. OpenAI's rebuttal about that, saying that the New York Times, purposely rejigged it. I'm paraphrasing poorly now, but in terms of getting the articles. And so, do you believe that this is just going to catapult a bunch of lawsuits now going forward?
Yeah, I think that there isn't a legal framework yet that's really been thought through, because if you compare search to large language models, essentially in search, the search engine itself never has the content, right? It's giving you a pointer to the content. And one of the things early in my career, I actually helped write what became the net neutrality laws.
Back in, 2002 or something like that?
Yeah, something like that. First drafted, Craig Mundy, CTO of Microsoft.
You were sitting there writing it?
Yeah, we literally wrote what became...
Not writing it, you were writing it.
Yeah, and I do think that there's going to be a legal framework that gets established because when you do a large language model, essentially you're compressing the internet into the model, right? It becomes intrinsically part of the model now as you then go do inferencing against that model. So in that, what will be the legal framework against that? Can I use third-party information? What's the copyright laws? I think there are going to be some lawsuits here. Remember, we're going to have lawsuits in different jurisdictions as well.
Of course.
U.S., what happens in Europe, how do they view it as well? So I do think that, whether this is a good one or a bad one with the New York Times and OpenAI, I firmly believe there's going to be a series of lawsuits that need to get reconciled for what is the legal framework around large language models, compressing the internet this way, and being able to use third-party information or not, and what are going to be the copyright laws associated with that.
Do you actually think there's an or not?
Well, if so, then you're going to have licensed content that gets used, right? You're going to have to go pursue and get licenses from all of the content providers that you use in your model. Wow, right? That's going to create a whole nother cycle of what and how does that get utilized?
And helps the media market where I work, sustain our jobs.
Yeah, we want you to have a great job. So.
So let's not talk about that. But keeping on that conversation about regulation, then that means that you have to be reliant on politicians and bureaucracy. We know how slow that is, but we also know how quickly AI is being adopted. So that's already they're slower than normal just because it's government. We have an election period coming, and then the adoption rate is so quick compared to any other technology phase. So how do we even come up with regulations within such a short amount of time?
Well, I don't think we will. I think the AI market is going to keep racing ahead because technology is enabling it to do so. And the courts and the regulatory environment will be chasing to catch up for a while. And eventually, some of those cases will come to court, whether that's in Europe or in the U.S., and it will start to reestablish a framework that the world, gets comfortable with about how AI is regulated, how content's regulated. And then, of course, we have to frame it in a way it isn't just about text on the internet, right? It's going to be about a much broader corpus of information as well going into those models. So I do think there's going to be a big set of legal and regulatory work that needs to occur here. But I'm actually, as we started the conversation, an optimist. We'll figure it out.
You are the leader of a large corporation making money. Of course you're going to be optimistic.
Yes. Is that me?
No, not at all. Not at all.
Just check.
Not at all. but I know I almost didn't want to ask you start off because I knew your answer, and you know the answer from a lot of tech leaders that of course they're going to be optimistic, because if you're not optimistic, you're not making money, sales, you're not employing all the people, and we wouldn't all be here listening to you.
But it's more important than that, because these AI use cases are demonstrating such extraordinary economic value, right? It isn't just that, we're going to make money or the other technology providers are going to make money associated with it. You're creating new economic value, right? We're taking use cases, and having 10, 100,000, 10,000x productivity improvements. This is stunning as a result. And because there's so much economic value in these use cases, the world is motivated to figure it out.
That productivity level, is that productivity something that is going to immediately come, a company will be extremely efficient, and then after that you're going to see, a much smaller increment in I'm not using terminology properly, but I feel like there's an analogy with Moore's Law that you can make there. Productivity is not going to keep growing as much, so it'll be this big bang now, maybe over the next decade, and then boom, we're on to something else.
Yeah, I think when we first introduced the internet, right? We had e-businesses and new ways to reach customers, sort of this decade-long cycle. I think the AI cycle is at least that big. And sort of domain by domain, we're going to find the, economic value, the use cases are going to get developed, we're going to get past the models hallucinating and building more and more confidence in what they do. But yeah, I think we're going to be in a 10+ year cycle of figuring it out in different industries, and it's going to be quite thrilling.
So if we were to compare an AI model within the cloud and an enterprise user versus an AI model that we are eventually going to use on our phones, is the phone side going to change the economics, or on the edge, I should say, because of AI PCs? How is that going to change the economics of everything, given how expensive it is on the cloud?
Well, part of it is, I call it the 3 laws of edge computing. Whether that's your phone, whether that's the in-store computing, whether that's your personal computer. The first is laws of economics, right? It's cheaper to do it in your device. You bought the device, I'm running it locally, I'm not renting cloud servers to do that. It's on my device. Second is the laws of physics. If I have to round trip the data to the cloud and back, okay, it's not going to be as responsive as I can do locally. And the third is the laws of the land, right? Because am I going to take my data to the cloud, or am I going to keep it on my local device? Am I going to take my real-time factory data, my supply chain data, my local camera data to the cloud or not? And a lot of that's going to be regulated in some fashion or another. Or I, as the user, say, I'm not comfortable, right, with that data going to the cloud. So I think those 3 laws of economics, laws of physics, and laws of the land will drive more of these AI use cases to the devices that we use across the edge. And that's part of what we mean when we say AI everywhere, right? We're going to push it and enable all of these devices locally. And maybe I don't need 100 languages on my local device. I just need the 2 that I need. And when I don't have that language, okay, I'll go to the cloud and download that additional model. I want it to work on my data if I'm the enterprise. I don't want all of my data, my factory data, my supply chain data going to the cloud. I want it to be operated on locally in my environment.
But if it's locally, how do companies like Intel continue to make money? I think of a phone, right? My phone is maxed out, so I got to pay money
sell more PCs, sell more servers.
No, but I mean adding applications. Like right now with a cell phone, you have so many. You got to pay for saving all your photos because it doesn't fit on your phone, and you can transfer. So now I'm paying a monthly fee, and then that's putting it back on the cloud. So for a company like Intel, if it's going to be all localized, how do you add that incremental revenue when everything's there and it's a fixed cost? They buy the AI PC and done.
I think this is going to be a thrilling time of new use cases emerging, right? That all of the economic implications, we're going to be enjoying this for many CESs to come. We have a lot of innovation to do for this. And part of what does, when you run these models, it's compressing it into smaller and smaller form factors. So I'm able to, get more intelligence locally with smaller and smaller footprints of models. That's part of the magic of AI. We're just getting started.
Oh, look at that. It's almost as if you're a professional at this, because the clock is literally down to 10 seconds, and that is a great way to end our conversation.
We are just getting started.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you both so much. Wasn't that great? Yes. Well, over the past several years, we've seen a revolution in health healthcare-focused technology. Thanks to new digital health tools, we're seeing health become more personalized, accessible, and intelligent than ever before. From the fitness trackers on our wrist to the telehealth platforms that connect us with doctors and therapists. Now, I'm a huge fan of digital health at CES, so I am beyond excited to welcome our next keynote speaker, Gail Boudreau, President and CEO of Elan Health. Named one of Fortune's 100 most powerful women in business, she leads their work that serves some 117 million people, bringing more than 3 decades of experience in the healthcare industry. Gail is focused on transforming Elan Health from a traditional health benefits company to a lifetime trusted health partner. She'll be joined on stage by Dr. Peter Lee, Vice President of Research and Incubations at Microsoft. Peter leads Microsoft's research in areas like AI,